Hi everyone, my name is Izzy and today I'll be talking about Indonesia's food culture, nutrition, and how it all ties back into public health. Indonesia is a very diverse country with strong cultural traditions surrounding food and eating. And in this presentation, I'll be talking a little bit more about their eating styles and food culture, some health issues that the country has, and how nutrition is kind of linked to these diseases, as well as the effects of globalization on dietary habits, and finally, my own public health recommendations for improving nutrition and health outcomes. So Indonesia's kind of eating style and food culture are deeply connected with the food's history, religion, geography, and social values. Indonesian food culture is multidimensional and kind of is shaped by different beliefs, traditions, and social practices. It's not only used for tradition, but also represents identity, community gratitude, and community connection. One major feature of Indonesia's eating culture is the importance of rice. Rice is kind of considered like the center of most meals, and many Indonesians say that if I haven't had rice, I haven't eaten. Rice is usually served with side dishes that may include fish, chicken, tofu, eggs, vegetables, and this kind of spicy chili sauce called sambal. Traditional meals are simple, but they're diverse, and they kind of reflect this term called simplistic abundance, where Indonesians rely on abundant natural resources and simple preparation methods to create balanced meals. Indonesia's food culture is also highly social. The term fraternity, meaning that food is strongly connected to togetherness, equality, and social bonding, can kind of be used in this scenario. Meals are commonly shared family style, and community eating is very important during celebration, religious gatherings, school events, and social like practices. The term Gotong Yo Ro Yong, meaning mutual cooperation, and Nongkrong, meaning socialization while eating and drinking together, kind of shows how food strengthens these relationships and community identity. Religion also plays a pretty large role in eating habits. Since Indonesia has the world's biggest Muslim population, halal dietary practices are really important. They're often associated with cleanliness, quality, and kind of health, and these Islamic traditions are heavily used during food preparation choices and communal meals during celebrations like Ramadan. Another pretty important aspect of Indonesian food culture is its openness to outside influences. The term receptiveness can be used here because Indonesia was kind of like historically located amongst pretty big trade routes. Indonesian cuisine has absorbed many influences from India, China, Middle Eastern, and European cultures. So, for example, India brought in curries and spices. China's influence brought noodles and stir frying techniques, and Europeans introduced foods such as chilies, potatoes, and tomatoes. Child malnutrition remains as one of Indonesia's most important public health challenges. Even as the country has made more like major improvements in reducing overall child mortality, recent data still shows that 22.6% of children under 5 are stunted, meaning that they're significantly shorter than their for their age due to chronic undermalnutrition and repeated infections. Although child mortality has declined over time, malnutrition continues to contribute significantly to preventable deaths and poor health outcomes. Approximately 116,000 children under the age of 5 died in 2023. And some of those issues are some of those deaths are because of respiratory infections, preterm health complication, and neonatal conditions. More importantly, malnutrition increases the vulnerability of these children and their mothers to these diseases by weakening immune function and reducing the body's ability to recover over time. From a dietary perspective, child malnutrition in Indonesia is strongly linked with low dietary diversity and inadequate nutritional intake. For example, many children rely on heavily rice-based meals, which do provide energy but kind of lack proteins, iron, and other vitamins unless complemented with other foods. There's also kind of limited access to animal source foods, fruits, and vegetables, especially in low income and rural communities. Maternal nutrition also plays a pretty big role because undernourished mothers are more likely to give birth to low birth rate infants, which kind of increases the risk of stunting. Hypertension affects approximately 31.2% of Indonesian adults and also increases the risk of cardiovascular disease, stroke, and kidney disease, and heart failure. Indonesia actually has one of the highest hypertension burdens in all of Southeast Asia. There are several factors that contribute to hypertension, including smoking and physical inactivity. However, diet also plays a pretty big role. In the past, traditional meals have been pretty balanced with like rice, fish, and vegetables, as well as fermented soy products. However, due to urbanization and globalization, many people now rely more on heavily um, processed foods, instant noodles, and kind of like salty street foods because they're fast, convenient, and cheap. These foods are high in sodium and unwanted fats, which increases the risk of hypertension. Increased rate of hypertension means increased rates of chronic diseases. So public health experts kind of recommend trying to reduce sodium intake while also increasing fruit and vegetable consumption and promoting healthier, more traditional diets. Exposure to international fast food chains, processed foods, and modern convenience foods has increased over time, especially in a lot of urban areas. Although some traditional foods definitely still exist, the younger generation seem to be eating them less frequently. Studies show that about 65% of respondents consume fast food weekly, while 45% report eating traditional foods less often than as compared to the past. Convenience is one of those big factors that's influencing food choices, with many people prioritizing speed and affordability over traditional cooking methods. Food has also been kind of treated more as a commodity rather than an important cultural practices. Globalization has kind of changed how food is viewed culturally as well. Traditional recipes are often simplified, and knowledge about traditional cooking is not being passed down quite as often between generations. In my opinion, globalization has both positive and negative effects on nutrition in Indonesia. On the positive side, globalization has definitely improved food availability and access to different foods. However, it's also encouraged unhealthy dietary patterns that increase both the risk of undernutrition and chronic diseases. From a public health perspective, I think there's several strategies that Indonesia can use to improve kind of their health outcomes. First, schools and communities can implement nutritional educational programs that teach more about balanced diets, healthy growth, and hypertension preventions. Next, some maternal and child nutrition programs should be strengthened or implemented to prevent stunting through better nutrition during pregnancy and early childhood. Indonesia should also try to encourage the preservation and consumption of traditional diets that are kind of less processed and more nutrient dense. And finally, the government can introduce stronger food policies, such as clearer nutritional labeling and limits on salt, sugar, and unhealthy fats in processed foods. Public health campaigns can also encourage people to reduce their consumption of processed foods and choose healthier options instead. So this is my reference sheet, and thank you all for listening.